I was not involved in any, anything. I wasn't like in the Second World War where a lot of the women went out and worked in the shipyards and things like that. I was too young, for one thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I really don't know much, in my personal opinion is not worth much either, because, unless you're right and see it right there involved and see it, and where the wars we've been having recently,
Mhm.
they are so videoized and seen so much of and heard talked so much about, is so much worse than the Second World War. The men went over there, the women that worked in the shipyards went out and did all these things while their men were overseas fighting the war.
Mhm.
We got rationed. Gasoline was rationed, and what else was rationed? Food. I think we had food stamps, they called them. You could only have so much gas, you could only have so much sugar, you could only have so much of this. And the war when started in 1944,
Mhm.
it was 44. How old was I in 1944? What, 17, 18?
Mhm.
So, and I was a young teenage girl dating the sailors when they came home on leave. I dated several different sailors. They'd come walking down just come and hit a neighborhood, just to be around normal home people. And there'd be 3 or 4 of them in a group, just walking around in the neighborhood. And they'd stop and play ball with my brothers in the middle of the street. And one of them was enamored with me and asked me to go out with him, so we went skating.
Mhm.
He was a nice young man. He liked to skate. What the skating I did was on the sidewalk in front of my house,
Mhm.
up and down the sidewalk. I knew how to skate, so I didn't have any problem with that. And it was very nice. And he came around 2 or 3 times, and then of course he was shipped out, had to go. But it was no big romance or anything like that. It was just a nice young man who, when we went skating, he was trying to teach me how to skate backwards. And so he got me turned around, trying to go backwards. And here I am, I'm trying to go backwards
Mhm.
and not doing too good of a job. And top it all up, a skating rink is round like this,
Mhm.
And here I am trying to go backwards, because I'm just learning and this and that. And then I go to, in the process of turning around and going backwards and turning around and going frontwards, I was in the process of turning around to go frontwards, and when I turned around, the whole Navy hit me and knocked me, I don't know how many feet. I was out for just a few minutes, scared the whole bunch of them to death. They thought they'd killed me, because when I turned around from trying to go backwards, here was this whole group of sailors
Yeah.
coming around the circle, and of course they're skating full bore,
Yeah.
and they all hit me kerpow. Down that poor sailor, it scared him so bad. He thought I was really hurt bad, but I wasn't. I came to, I wasn't gone very long, and all the sailors were standing around me. I'm sorry, man. They were all apologizing for it. Well, it just happened. It just happened. Nobody did anything on purpose, but they were coming really fast, and then when I turned around, I know my eyes got, because here they were, sure pal. But it scared him really bad.
Hmm. So,
He thought I was pretty hurt.
so the soldiers had a lot more carefree back then when they were over leave than they do
Well, these
now.
are sailors.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
sailors.
The servicemen, when they came home, they weren't. At the time of the Second World War, that the ones that were drafted into the service, it was a job. It was a job they had to do to protect their country.
Mhm.
See, and these other wars that we've had to go and fight, we've been pushed. Our men have been pushed over to fight in wars that has nothing to do with us. they're helping these other countries, you know, and in the process, the other countries all got so they don't like the United States of America. So, they're not very well thought of in most countries now. But maybe that'll go away after a while, I don't know. We quit the, see, and President Obama, he does not want to send any more of our boys over to fight some other country's foolish war. It's their fight. Let them settle it, and I agree with that, 100%. Why send our guys over there? Let the two countries that are at war with each other, let them fight it out amongst themselves and leave the United States alone.
Yeah.
That's the way I feel. But, you know, most of the government, they think they've got to get in and help our allies and things like that, but I don't know if it's worth it or not.
Did you feel that way about Vietnam? That it was kind of worthless in a sense?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people felt that way. And the men were treated so bad when they came home.
How were they treated?
They weren't given any medical help or help to find a home, or they just weren't given. The government just kind of ignored them. They came home, so what? They're home. You know, where now, when they come home from these other wars, they're doing everything they can to make their coming home a happy time. And so many of them have had that, what did you call it, the PTS or what do you call it?
PTSD.
Yeah, so many of them, because it was such an emotional war over there. They didn't know if they walked up the block, if they're going to be able to turn around and come back, because they could have been killed. You know, they couldn't. And the people got to where they didn't like them, even when they were trying to help the people. It's just, yeah, poor guys. And they got to where it was just they were probably scared to leave their camp, to leave their tents and stuff, because they didn't know if they were going to live that day or not. They were fighting against very bad, sneaky people who knew how to. Well, they lived out in the wild, out in the fields. They lived there, you know, and they knew how to make bombs in the ground, and it was a real. Instead of being like just a normal war where you go like with the Germans, you go and the Germans are on the other side of that hill, and you're down here in your foxhole, and you're fighting against an enemy that really, if you were to meet him, he wouldn't be your enemy. Because it's always the government that starts the wars. Always is. You know, look at Miyoko. She and her family were warned by flyers that were floated down here that there was going to be the bomb.
Mhm.
So they were warned ahead of time, so they were getting the hell out of there. You know?
Yeah.
Well, they're just everyday people. They didn't want to fight a war. They had nothing against anybody in the United States. But Japan decided they had to bomb the United States. So they came over and bombed Hawaii. Well, there you go. It got started. And now look, unless they're really, really clever, we're very good friends with the Japanese. You know? So yet, it's always the government that started. Look at that one whose father just died not too long ago, and here he is, this fat, pompous thing that doesn't know. He thinks he has to carry on what his father was doing, so he thinks he has to make bombs and do all this kind of stuff. And he looks to me, he looks like a fat, spoiled little child, which is probably just exactly what he is. And he's got to continue on daddy's work. Look at the North Vietnamese, trying to make all these bombs, and they must not have any kind of a life there in these countries. They don't have happy times, you know, good times like the United States, you know. If they have to go and do something, they go and they do it to the best of their ability. But then when they're done, they can come home to their families and have enjoyable evenings or have picnics and things like that. I don't think those people over there in those other countries are allowed to do that much. They're watched too much. You can't say anything against your government or you're killed. At least over here we got free speech, and if they don't like to hear it, they don't have to listen to it. But over there, I think if you say anything against your government, you're killed.
Mhm.
So when you stop and think the United States is the best place to live, although there are a lot of people who come over here and try to destroy it, and so I don't know. But there's always some government going to try to take over the whole world. What would they do if they took over the whole world? The leader of the country that would want to do that. What's he going to do?
Mhm.
How is he going to rule all these people that are here in the United States? When their country, one of the smaller countries, let's say, and he wants to rule the whole world, how does he think he's going to be able to rule the whole world when his country itself is not very big and only has so many men in it to be soldiers and so on and so forth?
Yeah.
It never worked. He'd be shot before he even got started. So it's just, and me, what am I? I'm just an everyday, never worked. You know, we all have our opinions about things. And I think most housewives, if they aren't debutantes and think they have to be dressed just so and do just so, it's just the everyday housewife, even if she had a job or anything, I think we could probably rule the whole United States of America better than the government does. Because we live on a budget.
Anarchy.
You know, our money can do this and this and this. So I don't know. But anyway.
America! Okay, I think that's it for our interview. Say bye, Grandma!
Did you record all that?
Yeah, I recorded it. It's 12 minutes long.
No? If your teacher doesn't like it, he'll say so, I guess.
Oh, believe me, Perry will say so.